Hello, how are you? Hope you're doing great. Welcome to this story from Katha Crafters. This is Meera Venkateshan. Now, one of my names is Meera Venkateshan, but I do have many other names. I'm sure you have too. One pet name from your mother, one from your father, maybe even from grandfather, a few from your friends. Why not? What's interesting is that almost all our Hindu gods have many names. But did you know that almost each of their names will have a story behind them? Interesting? One name, one story. Can you imagine the number of stories we have with us? And so today, on the day of Mahashivaratri, we would like to share three stories of three names about Trinetra. Did you guess who? Of course, the god Shiva with three eyes. He has several names: Nataraja, the god of dance; Gangadhara, the one who holds Ganga in his jata; Shankara, Shiva, the peaceful one, and many, many more. Now, the first name we have chosen is Gangadhara. How did a river end up in his locks? Are you wondering? Well, it so happened that once upon a time, Ganga was not a river of the earth. She was a heavenly river, flowing happily in the heavens. Nothing to do with our earth and pollution. Now, there was a king named Sagara who had many sons. They were chasing a horse as after an Ashwamedha Yaga, and they were so arrogant that they dared to call a sage a thief. They said he had stolen their horse. Of course, the sage was angry and cursed them that they burned to ashes. Now, what could be done? The sage told the king that only if the water of the Ganga flowed over their ashes, they would get redemption. Now, a few generations later, someone in their lineage, Bhagiratha, decided to make this impossible thing happen. So he went all the way to heavens and prayed for Ganga to come down. Ganga said, okay. She was very happy with his prayers and said, I will surely come, son. But do you have any idea what you're inviting? Do you know how strong and how powerful I am? If I come down, the earth will be destroyed. Of course, Bhagiratha didn't know that. Now, who could help? Whom do you turn to for help when there is nobody to help? God, of course. So he prayed to Shiva, and Shiva said, no problem, let her fall. And so Ganga fell down from the heavens, and Shiva caught her in his jata and let her down gently onto the earth. And so Shiva became Gangadhara, the one with Ganga in his jata. And thanks to that, we have the heavenly river Ganga with us today. And now, the second story. This is a very interesting story too. And for this, you will have to travel all the way to the south of India, to Tiruchi in Tamil Nadu, where you find the Jambulingam, also called one of the five elements, linga of the elements of water. Now, once Parvati mocked Shiva about his duties and about his dharma. So Shiva asked her to go down to earth and learn about it. Of course, Parvati was very contrite. She came down and she wanted to pray to Shiva. And so, on the banks of the river Kaveri, also called Punni, she decided to make a linga and pray to Shiva as Lord Shiva is usually prayed in the form of a linga, the Shiva linga. So, she made a linga with, guess what? Did you say sand? Did you say stone? Did you say metal? Did you say what? Did you say none of them? She made a linga with water. Yes, water, and prayed to it. Now, of course, Shiva was pleased and came there and gave her the advice like a teacher to the student. And that place is called Tiruvannaikavil. And the goddess there is called Akhilandeshwari. So now that seems to be a different story. Now, there was once a sage who was meditating there and Shiva appeared before him. The sage was so happy with that he gave Shiva a Java plum or the Indian blueberry called Nagaparam, Navalparam or Jambu fruit. Shiva ate the fruit and spit out the seed. The sage looked at Shiva, at what he got from Shiva, and ate it, the seed. And they say a tree grew out of the sage, a huge, beautiful Indian blueberry tree. And that linga came to be known as Jambukeshwara, or the Lord of the Jambu fruit. Isn't that an interesting story? Well, if you did find it interesting, you have to wait for the third one. This is full of action. Yes, action! Now, you may have all heard that the Devas and the Asuras were always fighting with each other. There was always a power struggle between them. I am better, I am better. Now, the Devas approached Mahavishnu and asked him, what can we do? These Asuras are getting too powerful. They are defeating us all the time. Well, said Mahavishnu, the only way out of this is to get the Amrita, the nectar. Well, where do you get it? Said Vishnu, all you have to do is to churn the ocean of milk. The ocean of milk? Churn? Have you ever tried to churn anything? Probably not, because your mother may be using a mixie just like I do. But in those days, you had a churn and you could use it to churn something like butter out of buttermilk. And just like that, they just had to churn the ocean of milk. You think that's easy? Of course not. It's very, very difficult. And the Mount Mandara was the mount to be the churning stick. And of course, you need a rope. You put a rope around the churning stick and then pull it from both sides. Who do you think would be long enough to do that? All the rope in the world will not be enough, mind you. So Vasuki volunteered to be the rope, the snake. So they tied the snake around the mountain and were ready. But then Devas couldn't do it alone. They needed help. It was too big and too difficult. And so they called out to the Asuras, who of course accepted the help, to help. But on the condition, of course, that they get their share of Amrita. Of course, nobody does anything for free. And so the churning started. The Devas are pulling from this side, the Asuras are pulling from this side, pulling. And so many things came out of the ocean. Mahalakshmi, yes, Lakshmi Devi, Kamadhenu, Kalpavriksha, the moon, and many other things. Now, remember what were they churning with? The snake. And what were they churning? The ocean of milk with a mountain. Soon, the rumblings of the earth created a poison called Halahala. And as the Halahala rose to the surface, the Devas and Asuras were finding it hard to breathe and were going to fall down. What could they do now? They couldn't just stop. The Amrita was not yet here. Shiva saw what was happening and came down and picked up the poison and drank it. Just like that, all the poison that came out, he drank it. As he started drinking it, Parvati, his wife, saw that his neck was turning blue with the poison. She was scared. For a moment, she forgot that Lord Shiva was the master of the universe. He could do anything. For her, he was just her husband who should be saved. She ran up to him and held his throat to make sure that the poison doesn't go down. And so Shiva became one with the blue throat, Neelakanta. Well, that brings us to the end of this session of stories of 3 names of Lord Shiva. Of course, there are many more. And please, as soon as you hear the stories, Please go out and learn more stories about Lord Shiva and do put it out to us if you can. And so, just to finish up, this is a session by Katha Crafters. You will also find the same stories in Kannada, Tamil and Malayalam on our YouTube channel. And the 3 stories of Lord Shiva we heard about today was the story behind the name Neelakanta, Jambukeshwara and Gangadhara. Thank you.